I'd like to bring this meeting to order. The Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees, regular meeting, November 11th, 2024. Clerk Konecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Alfano.
Here.
Trustee Cordova.
Here.
Trustee Corkery.
Here.
Trustee Kosar.
Here.
Trustee Kumar.
Here.
Trustee Patrick.
Here.
President Kazone.
Here, if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You remain standing. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen. Item 3, amendments to the agenda. Do we have any proposed amendments? Okay, seeing none. Public comments on agenda items. Clerk Kornicki, anyone signed in?
Yes, I have Ken Sandu. I'd like to comment.
Hi, my name's Ken Sandu. I've been here before in front of you guys. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be in front of you again. And I wish I didn't have to be, but I'm here yet again. So this is regarding the agenda item. I believe 10A.
11A.
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 Sorry. This is for a AAA liquor license over at a new business I'm trying to start here on 24 St. Charles Road. I wanted to first start, and I'm sorry, I had a huge thing. Now I think I got to take this down to 3 minutes. I wanted to start by, and I'm sure you guys have seen some of these Facebook posts about me, about my other business, and I think I need to talk about those first, just because I need to clear the room on this. I think one of the first things that was said about me was there was a lot of deception, and I'm just really confused about that word. I thought I knew what the definition of that word was, but I don't think I know that anymore, because I've been straightforward with you guys since September of 2023. We mentioned gaming in 2023. Since then, there have been at least 2 businesses that I know of that have gotten their licenses. They actually have pending gaming licenses right now with the state. And it was a 7-0 vote on all of those. I can't even get more than 2. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Did I wear the wrong color shirt? Did I offend somebody? Do I not know the right people? Am I not connected enough? I really don't know. I work a full-time job just like most other people. My wife works a full-time job. We are middle class. We are not, I think the Facebook post had mentioned, well, this guy's raking in something like $700,000 or something like that. Like, I have not taken a paycheck from my other business since COVID. I keep it open for my employees. I could easily close that place and be done with it without the headache. I have 6 employees there that depend on me. 3 retirees who it's really hard for them to get another job. So I keep it open for them. Is that it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. Clerk Konecki,
I have
anyone else?
nobody else signed up.
Anyone else? Public comments on agenda items? Okay. Public comments on non-agenda items?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I would like to remit 3 more minutes of my time from my trustee report to finish hearing what the last individual had to
Kind of
say.
been through that. We'll have opportunity during discussion on 10A to bring him back up. And, you know, if anybody has questions or comments, we can do that then. Public comments on non-agenda items?
This, I think, is a
Cheryl
agenda item,
Tucker.
unfinished business 14A, I believe is considered as an agenda. I don't want to make that mistake again. Okay. I just wanted to thank the board for sharing this information as being transparent, that you all said you wanted to be with the residents of Villa Park, about how the rules of order and procedure work for the board, and how you gave us the way to do the codes we follow. Seeing this discussion came up due to 11A, which is up again tonight for a vote. My understanding is under the Roberts Rules of, if a trustee abstains from voting, it is counted as a no vote, but is counted as a not vote in the majority count instead of a negative vote, which it seems to be stated as number 5 in that information. So in the case of 2 yeses, 1 no, 1 recurve, 1 absent, and 2 abstain, so in that case, by our majority voting system, this agreement would have moved, this motion would have moved and been passed as it was stated. I'm sure the village attorney will clarify that more later on when we get to that discussion. As a resident, I'm more concerned on how the rules of order will help the trustees to work together to get a budget done for the November 25th public hearing and the December meetings that we will be voting on that. How the trustee will be making sure that there is money in the budget to get all our streets plowed instead of just the main thoroughfares. The trees trimmed, the sidewalks replaced, the curbs replaced or put in place, and where our streets will be done with the sewers, flood issues are taken care of in a timely fashion instead of being rolled from year to year because there is no tax revenue. As a resident, we understand you all have your own opinions, but as a trustee, you are being paid as part of the budget to voice the residents of Villa Park's opinions and not your own. Not to make administration decisions, but that is what the village manager, staff, and attorney get paid to do. So here, there is no need, as far as I'm concerned, that the trustees need to act like this, that this is a courtroom instead of a boardroom. You were voted in because we as a residents trusted that you could work together instead of attacking each other and not listening to each other, to make the best decisions as the voice of the residents, to be on top of the tax dollars on this village by getting new business in, keeping old ones here, and by making it easier for the residents to get repairs done without a lot of red tape and a lot of court codes to have to fight, or months in petitions trying to get them through. Help the village staff get these things done for the residents instead of fighting them and causing difficulty, not turning away businesses because they have come to ask a request and you personally feel it's not right. Is it too much to expect of 6 trustees, a president, to work together for the betterment of Villa Park? As a board, I'm asking you to make decisions tonight and with the discussion of the rules and procedures for the Board of Trustees tonight to do it correctly this time.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. Okay, anyone else? Public comments on non-agenda items? Okay. No, okay.
Cheryl Tucker. I'd like to honor our veterans tonight. I think that's very important to thank them in the village, to let them know that we do respect them and I honor them. I'm here on the behalf of Community Congregational Church. We have sent several letters out to nonprofit organizations, churches, and widespread in the community that do fundraisers and activities to help things in Villa Park. As part of this, we're seeking input from these organizations. We have sent letters out. If you haven't received a letter, please let me know. My email is tucker4813@yahoo.com. We're asking for your available insight, and we'd like to invite you to take part in a conversation we'll be holding at 136 East Highland Avenue, that's the Calvary Church, on Wednesday, November 20th. We're going to have a light dinner at 6 o'clock, and then our sessions are going to start at 6:15 and go to 8. The conversations will start on time, and we're going to try to keep it prompt to keep in the time limit that we ask of you. We hope that you'll see the opportunity to come to this meeting and have a conversation with other Villa Park groups so that we all can work together and make a better life in Villa Park for the Trends. There are a lot of organizations in this village that are doing wonderful things for the people of Villa Park, but they get overlooked because a lot of the organizations, we do not know what they're doing. So it's going to be a relaxed meeting to discuss it and get all the groups together in Villa Park so we can all help each other move forward to make a profit for everybody, to benefit everybody. We're going to basically open it up so that we can all work in small groups and learn about what each other organization is doing. Our church members are going to try to infiltrate it so that we can talk together and find out how each of us and the community congregation can help these organizations by partnering together to get these things done in the future. And we're hoping that you will come and take part of that because we want to make Villa Park the best we can, and we want to help all the organizations the best we can in the village. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. Okay, anyone else? Public comments on non-agenda items. Okay, we'll move on to item 7A, is a Community Fund Commission presentation of Halloween Decoration Awards. And we have a couple ladies from Fund Commission.
Hi, everyone. We're going to do our pictures up here, and I have one person for them. Maybe Leslie, do you want to show you up here? Suzanne.
This
the right
is
person.
not.
I know this.
Thank you. No problem. All right, great.
Start.
Just the arrows.
Well, I guess we're not ready, but anyway.
Return, enter.
Can't send us through a college to learn how to do computers yet. This is a wonderful compilation of the beautiful, beautiful Halloween decorations that we have. We went and looked at them. We couldn't do them all, but we got pictures of a lot. Is this one of them?
No, but that, if you recall, that a young
Well,
man
anything about that.
was swinging those children around and saying, "Time to eat the children."
Was that all of them? Or
I
did it-
love it.
I loved it, it was my favorite. It was my favorite.
I wasn't.
And we have to thank Riley, our new communications specialist with the village, for putting that together.
Yeah, it was a wonderful thing
So,
to see.
thank you.
Well, we had 3 winners that we chose. Is John DeBella here? No, he said he'd call. Oh, okay.
Oh, well, you gotta come up.
Okay, well, not right now, but I just need to look for you. And Luis Hernandez, he said he'd come too, but he's not. Okay, well, we got 30 or 60%, so that's good. So the first house we're going to tell you about, because I don't know how to get to a picture of it, is 642 North Lincoln, and that's John John DeBella, and whoever is coming up to get his award.
Anthony, come on up.
Anthony. I thought Anthony was the name I knew, and then I saw John, and I said, ooh, I'm out of it. They had a lot of huge. When we got there, they were having a party. It was pretty cool. We had to look around for somebody to direct us. So how long did it took him to put that all up?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks to do it? Okay, well, it was pretty cool, and I hope everybody got to see it. But the first thing I have to give you is, this is your award, and you can give that to whoever needs to get it. And here's my fancy wrapping. My husband retired, so we don't need these lunch bags anymore. It's like a copy from Bill Perk, and there's $50 gift card. So, enjoy that, and thanks a lot for helping and being there.
Yes, and participating.
Where-
All right, thank
Mary,
you. And I'm not sure if that skeleton, or I'm sorry, if that scarecrow was entered in the village contest for the scarecrow contest, but I would say that one deserves to win because that
Definitely.
scarecrow was as tall as that house, and it was one of those.
Do you guys
8-foot
just happen to have matching sweaters for this? I mean, no. I mean, is that you in the picture, Mary?
Turn
Or is that
around.
his?
Oh, turn around. We both have.
Oh, that too.
Now
Is
in
it-
the picture.
No, in the
The picture.
picture.
Is that you, Mary?
Pumpkin stuff.
On that, yeah, it just turned out that Anthony called me, said wear your orange, so I did.
All right.
I just thought that
Okay,
was
so
an
the
interesting.
The next one is the Flanagan House, and I know they're here, and that's 230 South Harvard. And this one won for the most beautiful house. This was 360, it went all the way around the house. So he had huge skeletons too. He had two of them, he had a huge, oh, there's the dog,
And the skeleton.
and the skeleton, yes, so,
I like the dog. I
yeah.
thought the dog was really cool.
So if
And-
you would, what-
yes.
Yeah, do you want to come up and? do you
And
wanna talk-
tell your
he-
baddie story.
He has a really interesting story. Sam. Whoops.
So I can confirm that there are bats in Middle Park. In a Halloween-related incident, one was living in that skeleton. And it bit me on the arm, so
We saw it. We saw that. Yes, we saw it.
I got to go to Elmhurst Hospital the Thursday before Halloween and get 9 shots.
Good.
As a rabies shot?
Rabies.
For rabies, yeah.
You still have a reflection in the mirror? Yeah, okay, good.
No urges to bite other people, right?
Let me know.
Yeah,
Oh, that's pretty exciting. And here is your award for beautiful. You can hang that on your wall. I wouldn't hang it outside. It's great, but it probably won't last. But, it's kind of fun. And
Boy,
you
the
also-
things people will do to be part of this contest. I'll tell you.
And this is your fancy. You also have some Villaport coffee in there and $50 Visa gift card. So enjoy that. Buy more Halloween decorations. And the last one is Luis Hernandez House, which is 1032 South Villa Avenue. And that's right next to the school. What is that on Villa? Starts with A.
Albright.
Albright, yes, I had it before. So a lot of people probably have seen it, but that was a huge amount of skeletons and a skeleton having too much to drink in the front yard and just a lot of tall witches that looked lifelike other than they were 10 feet tall.
They were having a cocktail party. They were.
Yeah, so it was very cool and it caught everybody's eye. And he was putting it up for about 2 months, he said. And he keeps buying more stuff every year. So he will get this award to him. And he gets the coffee and everything too. So I just wanted to say it was the year of the skeleton. Skeletons were doing everything. They were riding bikes, they were taking dogs for walks, and they were Olympic training, running, and they were on benches, and they were just everywhere. And it was really cool, some playing volleyball in the front yard. And my personal favorite, although not a skeleton, was 2 aliens coming down, life-size cicadas. So if you missed the life-size cicadas, you might know that was close to my heart. Big,
Where's your hat?
So anyways, we'd like to thank everybody for participating and for sitting here and listening to us enjoy the holiday events. So thank you. Now
Thank you.
Leslie's going to take over.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, item 7B is the Community Fund Commission Autumn Jubilee post-event presentation.
Yes, thank you. So this was our second annual Autumn Jubilee, and it was bigger and better than last year. I think we made some big improvements with the help of a lot of people in the community. We added some Halloween spice as we were directed by the board. We included a haunted trail, a spooky bus, kids in costume this year. We did our non-motorized people mover contest again, which was, 3 times as long as it was the year before. So that was a lot of fun. And all of this to help make Villa Park a Halloween destination. So we liked doing this event in October, and I think we'll probably stick with that if we can. We had selfie stations, and I will tell you that Commissioner Mary deserves the credit for these. She painted and made those boards as well as those frames, and they were a big hit. We had a ton of pictures taken. People really enjoyed doing the selfies. We had some special guests. Dave Lott, I believe. He plays at Villa Perks quite often. He reached out to us and asked if he could come and just play for us that day. And boy, did he get a lot of accolades. He also wound up being our MC for the non-motorized people mover parade. And that went over very well. So we hope we'll have him back next year as well. Sky High Balloon and face painting has always been a hit, and they came back this year as well. That's one thing that we heard from the village, or from the people in the village, is that we need to extend the hours of the face painting and the balloon guys, because there were some kids that missed out before the event was over. So next year, we'll make sure that we have it from the very beginning until the very end. Some of the highlights of this year's event, we had 30 vendors, an increase over 14 from last year. Many of these people have already reached out and said that they would enjoy being invited back next year. And we've also had some other vendors reach out and said, put us on the list as well. So our goal is to fill up that entire prairie path from Villa down to Summit with tents and vendors. We also had 6 dogs adopted from our 3 different rescues. So people of all ages enjoyed the bus ride to our haunted trail, which was over on the Great Western Trail. So we had a bus that picked people up. We told spooky stories inside of the bus. Not too spooky. We drove them around to the other side where they were greeted by a red carpet that took them up to the prairie path. And we had the Saint, Jack, you're going to have to help me with this, Saint Genesius production players were out there in full costume at 6 different stations doing stories in character. And it was really something to see. And again, this was all volunteer hours. Everybody was out there just having a great time. The weather turned just in time to make it kind of spooky those last 2 hours that we were out there too. So hopefully we can get them back as well next year. Guests were hanging out before the event even opened. People were dressed up in costumes, and we had a steady flow of people for the entire day. We estimate that we had about 750 people this year compared to 500 last year. So next year, I want to double those numbers. We had an arts and crafts table. Again, a lot of this, Mary, Commissioner Mary is our crafty lady here, so she is the one that comes up with a lot of these ideas. Or not. And lots of yummy ice cream and all kinds of treats to go along with the day. There was, our vendors included food, jewelry, candles. There was something for everybody that day. We had the Villa Park Library bus come out. Maybe they were the ones doing those crafts. Not sure. But I know they were very busy too.
Big, huge craft.
Yeah.
Craft tables with
Yep.
bags and all.
We had authentic homemade clothing items, and the Papa Bear Baking Company sold out. They left early because they sold out of all their product. So they are definitely in next year. There's a line before we officially opened at noon that was lining up for the face painting. The other photo is a look going down the Prairie Path with some of the various tents that we had. That was also where we did our parade. So overall, it was a really fun day. The weather held up fairly well, and we can't wait to do it again next year. I want to say thank you to all of our commissioners, Dave Samples for being our DJ, everybody. Carla put this presentation together. She couldn't be here this evening. Our liaisons, Carrie Alfano and Gina
Recanelli.
Yes, Recanelli, sorry, I have problems with names. Not to mention Sarah Corkery for bringing out her troupe as well. It was so nice to see so many of our trustees at the event supporting us as well. And we just want to say thank you for supporting us and letting us put on some of these fun events.
Good. Thank you. You guys did a great job. It was really well done. Okay, item 7C is a presentation determining the tax levy estimate for 2024. I believe our finance director, Chuck Howard.
Yeah, as usual, when I have numbers on screens are always difficult to read, but what I want to kind of speak about is we have this estimating resolution coming up later in our agenda, and I really want to talk about what it is really. What am I asking you to do? What are we asking that you consider? And at this time of year where we bring this resolution forward, it is 20 days. By law, the Truth in Taxation Act says that in 20 days we must pass our levy. And as part of the process in Truth in Taxation, we have to state to you whether it's going to be greater than 5% of last year's levy. Now, last year's levy, we know we had 5%, but in this year's levy, we're capped by both the 5% and PTEL, which is a measure of CPI that the Department of Revenue establishes for us as a non-home rule entity and in a county where PTEL applies. So in this year, it is 3.4%. So if you think about it, we can't get to 5% because we're capped at 3.4. In the documents that I have presented, I have put together a levy as is allowable under the PTEL laws and what the county who administers it has given us. The way it works is that there are certain funds that are capped even exclusively in that format, and they're in the general funds and some other funds. Funds that are not capped are debt levy and pension. And those things, and if you add in our levy for the library, that's 98% of our levy. So we don't have a lot that we're going to really be able to support other than making it a levy that is really something that we don't really want to think about, because we want to support the pension fund. We've gone through a lot of analysis and done a lot of things as far as actuarially determining what our contribution to the pension funds are going to be. We certainly want to make our contributions to debt service. We don't want to abbreviate either one of those. First of all, in pension funds, we're mandated to strive to get to 90% of our funding requirement by 2040, and we must keep along that road. And as I think about debt service, I think that debt service is something that we must be attentive to if we want to consider what we may wish to consider for other projects going forward. So just some background into that. I just wanted to present that. Again, our budget here that I presented is 2.8% increase. And I know there was some discussion, and I have been listening to some of the discussion as far as how do we keep this flat and what do we do. I've got a presentation also that does that. That is on the screen there. If we were to do that, it would affect a number of funds, mostly in the corporate and general fund categories. But one thing, and I talked to the village manager just this morning of, just what does that mean to our budget if we try to hold the collections to last year's level? It means a couple of things. First of all, there's about $300,000 that we would have to cover through general fund in some other way. And it's a good time to be talking about it, because we're talking about budgeting. If we're going to do this levy in that structure, we need to know so we can start making those decisions about it. The other thing, as we would look at a levy that just collects what we collected last year, is we have to think about not only that, this current year's approach, but that becomes our base going forward. So you're kind of taking a step back for years coming up too, because you're going to be measured on the 5% or whatever CPI is in those years coming forward. So I just want to say those things. Again, this is our first look at the levy. We must make this resolution and establish that we are not going to exceed the 5% and have to have those truth and taxation hearings and presentations. And I want to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page about what this resolution means. It's saying that we're not going to exceed the 5%. We can't. And we are going to have enough time to finalize our budget 20 days from now.
Chuck, what is our increase in our pension payment next year versus this year? At least your estimate of that.
We're going from, actually, it's a little bit less in this presentation. It's holding around 3.9 million. Let's see if I can go. So if we look at it, it's about 53,000, something like that.
And it's all our pension payments?
Those are pension.
All of them,
Just in
yeah.
that pension component. We do make other contributions to pension. We make contributions through PPRT, and we make some contributions through the canvas tax.
Thank you. Okay,
And again, we do levy for Nestra, we do levy for the library and our total levy.
okay, any questions from the board? Trustee Kozar?
So Chuck, as you know, I've advocated for the last 3 years to take 1 year and take a break from raising our tax levy and putting that tax burden on the shoulders of our residents through their real estate taxes. I understand that a lot of their real estate tax is out of our control. It's
Absolutely.
brought by the county, but we can only, on this board and in life generally, we can only control what we can control. And giving our residents a break for 1 year, keeping it flat, is what I have proposed and advocated for. I'm glad this year you've come up with this, and we're at least looking at that. I encourage everybody on the board to talk to Chuck, talk amongst yourselves, and let's see if we can't do this for just 1 year. I'm not saying that we have to freeze it forever, but let's give our residents that break for 1 year, and we can allocate money from different areas if we need to. But if every year we just tax more and spend more, we're never gonna get it's an endless cycle. At some point, we have to stop and say, okay, we can tax less, and we have to look hard at what we're budgeting, but we can't have everything all the time. And let's try to keep some of that money in our residents' pocket rather than in the village's pocket. So we've got 20 days to figure that out. Hopefully we do. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, great, thanks, Chuck. Okay, we move on to item 9, our consent agenda, 9A. Bill listings for the week of October 28th, 2024, in the amount of $648,875.12, and November 4th, 2024, in the amount of $4,546,621.52. Item B is approval of the minutes of the October 14th, 2024 Village Board of Trustees meeting. Item C is approval of the minutes of the October 28th, 2024 Village Board of Trustees meeting. And item D is the approval of the minutes of the special meeting of the Village Board of Trustees on November 6th, 2024 at 5:30 PM. We have a motion for the consent agenda. Trustee Corkery?
Make that motion?
Okay, do we have a second for the consent agenda? Trustee Alfano? Okay, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Henneke, please.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano? President Kazal?
Yes. Okay, item 10A is first reading is an ordinance adopting various amendments to the official plan and subdivision regulations of the Villa Park Municipal Code. Manager Harline.
Yes, this ordinance will add a Class AAA, I'm sorry, 10A, sorry. This ordinance approves text amendments in Appendix B, Official Plan and Subdivision Regulations, Article 1, Sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Article 2, Sections 1, 2, 3, and Article 3.1, and Article 5. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance, and there's a detailed memo that talks about some of the changes in the various different parts of the subdivision code. Our Community Economic Development Director, McLaughlin, is here. If you have any questions, and I'll leave it open at this time.
Okay. Okay, so this is a first reading unless someone, can we waive the first one on this? Can we waive the first reading? Okay. Okay, so this is first reading unless someone would want to waive first reading. Okay, any questions or comments for Manager McLaughlin? Okay.
Director.
Director. Okay, so we will bring this back at our next board meeting on the 25th for second reading. Okay, item 11A is an ordinance amending Section 3-313A of Chapter 3 of the Villa Park Municipal Code in order to increase by one the maximum number of licenses permitted under the Class AAA liquor license classification. Manager Harline.
There are currently no Class AAA liquor licenses available, so the village will need to adopt the attached ordinance to allow for this liquor license. The background check has been approved by the Liquor Commissioner. The board reviewed the proposal multiple times, and the members present indicated a preference to move forward at that time in September, and we have had substantive discussion since then. If there are any questions, staff will try to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance?
Make that motion.
Okay, Trustee Cordova, second. Trustee Kumar, questions, comments? Trustee Kumar.
I wasn't at the meeting when this was initially voted on, and I have a question for legal consideration as to how the vote fell. What is the interpretation of the vote on that particular meeting? If we could even bring it up, the meeting, so we can see that portion, it would kind of assess what happened, because I wasn't there. I've seen it a couple times, but I just need an interpretation of what that vote meant to the business that came out.
So specifically, there was no vote taken. There was a consensus taken. So there was a presentation with respect to, or introduction, that with respect to the requested liquor license. And then there was a consensus taken regarding the moving forward on that liquor license application. So there was never a vote taken by this board, just a consensus given.
Okay, and what is that interpretation of a consensus? Because there were so many yays, so many nays, so many people who did not vote. What does that, because what does that mean, and what does that indicate to a business, do you think?
So I think the interpretation that was rendered with respect to the consensus, there were some abstentions for that consensus. And there was an analysis that the abstentions went with the majority, which was the two, I believe it was two individuals, three individuals that voted in favor. Or I take that back, it wasn't a vote, but expressed favor for that. So, but there was no vote, and really the abstaining on it, it was just basically a consensus that was given with respect to where the board members fell with respect to the application.
So and this is why I'm kind of addressing this issue. I'm kind of under a quandary here because a business does come into town. It looks like we gave them a yay to go ahead with this business consensus wise. What can we do to change the code so this doesn't happen? Because I don't think anybody should be investing before they have a license in hand. It's unfair that they fall here, and I'm not averse to all the people who came out who are against this in Villa Park at this point. I understand their problem. A lot of businesses have gotten a certain license, which the state of Illinois gives the gaming licenses. We have nothing to do with gaming. However, we do offer a liquor license which provisionally gives an option for gaming as it stands. So that's how our licensing has been. And that's why last time we passed the quadruple A, because that makes it clearer to the trustees what they're voting on. There's a lot of lack of clarity in the process. There's a lack of clarity in the actual licensing at this point. I'm hoping after this year, we will have a discussion, and I've had this discussion with Mark, on updating that whole licensing structure, the process by which we offer licenses, making it more immediate, because to me, it's kind of a bad situation that our business is facing right now. if they had known in advance that this, is not happening. I mean, they had a clue, because 2 of the trustees did abstain. They had some clue. If they had a clear notion that was really clarified that they may not have invested in town, or they may have chose another model, or they may have asked whoever is sustaining their business and taking out loans a different, they may have chosen a different model to begin with, and, whoever's given the loan would address it in that way. So this is a problem we have in town overall. If I was there, honestly speaking, I would have probably voted no right then and there. But I'm under a quandary now how to vote because of this particular situation. And I think there's a code problem in Villa Park with respect to the licensing structure that needs to be corrected. This should not be a delayed process. Either you have a license, you construct, you have everything to go get your stuff. We can't have favoritism towards one group and another not have a license. I understand the concerns of Villa Park citizens. They don't want gambling machines in every corner of Villa Park. They're totally against it. I've gotten more calls for this than I've ever gotten for anything else, honestly speaking. A lot of our citizens are against it. However, we've kind of made it an optional for whoever's having trouble. And during COVID, a lot of people switched to gaming machines in our town as a way to sustain themselves. Now, am I against all those businesses that did that? No. I'm absolutely not. I understand that they had to keep afloat. A lot of those businesses were some of our sustaining businesses, and we want retention. So as a business professional, I understand that need to keep them afloat. But I've really thought about this back and forth, done a lot of research. In Illinois currently, there's been an increase in gaming overall. And if you look at, we went from about 17,000 machines in the past to almost like 54,000 machines with, here's the data. No, 17,467 video gaming terminals in 2014 to 45,987 video gaming terminals in Illinois today. And it's kind of because of these holes in the law. If you really don't want it, I actually feel this is a question that should go on a ballot in the future, and we should know what the people of Villa Park really want before we make one-sided decisions on this particular process.
Okay, a couple things on this. Addressing a business like this, if they were to come to the board and ask for a license, and if the license is issued, they have 90 days to be operational. In the case of a business like this, they had to go through purchasing the property, coming up with plans for the property, developing it, and building it out. That process is way more than 90 days. So that was the reason for the consensus from the board, was to see, okay, if they go, because they had not bought the property yet. So their decision to buy this property and invest this money was based on the consensus from the board. Because once they did come, after they knew that they were within 90 days, that's when they would come for the liquor license. So they had to know whether the board was a consensus, where if they did come for the license, that the board would give them the license. The night when we had the consensus here, there were 3 votes for it. There were 2 abstentions, and 1 recusal. I spoke to you afterwards, the next day, and explained exactly what was going on, and you were, at that time, okay with it. So that's 4 votes in favor of it, plus there were 2 abstentions, which I didn't know how those would go. So I proceeded to talk to the owners and said, right now, there's 4 votes for it. So he took that decision as going ahead and investing, $900,000 into this property. Now we comes to the board for the liquor license, the board is telling him, well, no. And I understand the village, and a lot of residents are against gaming. And we have talked, and I've talked to several trustees about that, about in the future, about gaming and limiting, licenses, and in the future telling potential investors in the village that we are really against gaming. However, in this consideration here, this person and his investors have dumped a lot of money into the business already based on a consensus a year ago, which obviously has now changed. But a year ago, there were 4 people that said that they would accept it. So that's why we're in this position now. Trustee Corkery.
I would just say that when it was brought to the board, it wasn't presented as a gaming business. And I know that that's not what it is on paper, but I would be happy to approve this without gaming. If we don't have a license that allows it without gaming, then we should create one as soon as possible, and I'd be happy to sign off on that. If this business cannot exist without gaming, then it's a gaming business, and it's something that the citizens of Villa Park have said that they don't want in their town. If they can't go on without the gaming, then it's a gaming business, and that's not what my constituents want in this town. So I
I don't know if it's so much that they can't go on without gaming. It's a consideration of their business plan included gaming. And now, they're gonna have to change their business plan, which is very difficult once you've gotten that far.
To my mind, if it's that important to the business plan, then that would make it a gaming business, in my definition.
Trustee Kumar.
Yeah, in our discussion, we never had a discussion about gaming at all. It was only about the liquor license. And so I had not heard this discussion till recently when I reviewed the actual video that gaming would be involved in this particular situation. Now, the 90-day provision, is that a state of Illinois provision on that?
It's a state law, and the village mirrors the state law. Trustee Alfano.
I would like to ask kind of a procedural question. Can we have a conversation about how we are going to vote with you on the phone when it is not in open session here? So if you were to call me and you wanted to discuss with me about this, I'm not sure that I would say I'm going to give you a yes or no on the phone.
On a
Feeling like
consensus.
that's maybe,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just feeling like that would be, we talked about OMA last time. I feel like that's an OMA issue. I feel like that's a gray area. Can legal help us with that?
That's not a violation of the Open Meetings Act if there's a discussion between 2 members of the board regarding the matter of public business. And if you're saying the request for how are you inclined to vote on an issue, that's okay too, as long as that discussion is not taking place with a majority.
So so I guess then a follow-up question is if that's the deciding vote, or we're gonna add that to a vote that's already been taken or a consensus vote that's already taken. Help me understand how that isn't part of the OMA, because I didn't know that took place as somebody who sits on this board. And I think that not only I have the right to know that, but I think everybody else has the right to know that conversation took place and that was the information that was given then.
It was a conversation between 2 board members, so that's not a majority of a quorum, so the Open Meetings Act wasn't applicable in that situation, and that is a conversation that's not in violation of the law.
Okay.
Trustee Kumar.
So, define for me, Melissa, the consensus vote. What does that mean, and what is that telling the business? Because that's where I'm confused.
So it's my understanding that before, it wasn't too long ago that the practice regarding the liquor license was amended so that the applicant would come before the board first, before the actual ordinance was presented to increase the liquor license, so that the board could give some guidance as to how they felt about that establishment and the request for the liquor license. So that's what happened in this situation. They made a presentation or it was presented to the board regarding this particular liquor license, and then there was consensus direction given via a consensus. It's not a vote, it's not binding, it's not the decision of the public body, but it was a consensus so that there could be direction given to the establishment as to whether a liquor license was inclined to be authorized for this particular location and establishment.
I'd like staff to weigh in on possibilities for something like this not happening in the future. What are our options? Because the consensus is non-binding, so at any point, depending on how our mind changes, we can change our mind. So that puts businesses under risk. So on the other side, you look from a business perspective, we're actually risking every one of the businesses coming into town. So that is not something I want to do. This particular business is at that end all. It doesn't happen all the time, but they are stuck there. So explain to me, what are your possibilities with regards to this law to change it, to make it more amenable for businesses to know that yes is yes when it's yes, and no is no when it's no?
Sure. So we've been talking about this a little bit for a few businesses, this being one of them. The Captain's Room was another, where they came forward, made a presentation, bought the property, did the build-out, and then came forward again to get their license. And there was a concern at that time that it was going to be a gaming cafe, which, as you see today, clearly isn't, but same situation. Staff is going to be working on text amendments in concert with the village attorney on the updates to the state liquor licensing code since the last time we've actually made a holistic change to see if there's any way we can truncate the amount of time that it is from when they have a conversation with you and are a holder of a liquor license to when they can open. So we have the 90 days for a background check, and then we have a 90 days where they actually have to utilize the license from issuance. And so that second part, the 90 days from issuance to when they use it, is what we're going to be looking at to see if we can actually shrink that. So that when they come forward, have a contract for sale or a signed lease, if they're going to do major improvements, such as the case today, that they are guaranteed that license because they've paid for it, or they have it in waiting, or something that we're going to work with and figure out language. But as we sit here right now, I don't have that language for you because it's going to be a project. And so staff's committed to doing that when a new liquor commissioner is seated.
But Mark, that would have to be a change to state law.
We are going to investigate what the state law says regarding all those issues.
Trustee Kozar.
So we have this confusion on what a consensus is. But a consensus, there's two ways to take a vote. You take a majority vote or you take a consensus vote. A consensus means that every voting member has equal power. So one vote negates a consensus. We keep using, not we, but our village attorney and our village president keeps using this term consensus. If we took a consensus, it would have to be unanimous to pass a consensus. If we took a straw poll, everybody states their opinion, and that's what you have. So there's two terms here. If you want to use the definition of what a consensus is, we did not have a consensus because it was not unanimous. That's what a consensus is. We took a straw poll. That's it. There was a comment here from President Cazone saying that the 90-day rule is a state law rule. Can anybody cite that?
Yes.
The Illinois Liquor Control Act.
Right. Can you just find that for me? Because I believe that the 90-day rule is a Villa Park rule.
It's not in the village code.
Well, let's just,
it's in the
let's hold
village code.
discussion until we can find it in the,
It's adopted.
in the Illinois law. So that we're just on the same page talking about the same stuff.
I believe it's 235 ILCS 5/6-3.
And it reads?
It's a subparagraph that says a license could be lawfully approved after a formal application for a retail license if that person within 90 days of the state commission appearing and recording vote first filed with the application. I mean,
So that's the application. You've got 90 days on the application. It's not, you're granted a liquor license and then you have 90 days to use
after the
it,
vote, after the vote.
per the application. Read it again.
Okay,
It just
so-
doesn't, it's not saying that you have 90 days to use the license
So
or you
is
lose
the-
it.
Is the question, I mean, germane to this issue here, is the question with respect, I think the issue that you're trying to resolve is whether there, I mean, we're calling it a consensus, it was a straw poll, there was effectively no vote taken, either way, there's no vote that was
Right.
taken.
But in that, you're citing that an abstention is going to go to the majority.
That,
But
I'm not citing that, that's.
Well, that's what was just said
But
here,
there-
and that's
there were-
what it was. So let's be clear on it, though.
There were
Because,
three people that, when they were polled, expressed favor. And then a person outside of the meeting was asked about it and expressed favor. And so that
right, I
information.
understand those facts.
Right,
What
that-
we're talking about is the abstention does not go to a majority.
and
What you're trying to cite is common law, Prosser versus Fox Lake.
I didn't cite that.
Okay,
And
so we
I-
agree that an abstention does not go to the majority.
I'm not opining that this wasn't a vote, where you would even make that analysis.
Okay,
It was
so
a straw poll, so you
That's
wouldn't
fine, we
even
can all
make-
agree that an abstention does not go to the majority, and there was a misspeaking that was said here. That's fine. I just want to be clear on what we're doing.
A
So,
consensus doesn't necessarily have to be 100%. A
that's what a
consensus-
consensus is.
So either way, the information that was relayed to the applicant was that three people expressed favor.
Right, we've heard that like ad nauseum.
Okay, and so
Okay.
that's,
So that's not the question here. So we talked about consensus, that's point one. Point two is the 90 days that we disagree that it's built into state law, and once you get a license, Illinois state requires you
so
90 days.
also, in addition.
So we can come back to that point, and we can actually brief it out if you want, and dig into that. We don't have to solve this at this board meeting, but we have a point of disagreement.
So the
So
po-
let's take the next 2 weeks, and we can discuss that, and we can bring it back to the board and talk about, is it Illinois law that says 90 days, or is it Villa Park law that says 90 days?
Okay, and my position is that's just not germane to the issue right here.
But it's being brought up.
And it-
So we have to walk,
No.
I have the floor, and I don't have any more questions for you right now. When I do, I will ask you.
Oh, my goodness.
So the third point that I have issues with is that when all this was going down, I called up Manager Harline, and I said, Manager Harline, I know I'm a trustee, but I don't need to do a FOIA, but I would like to see the emails because there's some disconnect. President Kazone says there wasn't an email going out there, it was just a discussion. I'd like to see what it was. So this was on 10/23, and Manager Harline then later in the day suggested, did you ask Nick directly for the message that he sent to Ken? I responded, I'll call him. And to your credit, Manager Harline, you said, excellent, that could make more peace. So if you recall, President Canzone, I called you, we arranged for it, I called you around 6 o'clock and we talked on the phone. And at that time, you said you had a conversation with him, there was no emails that would have gone out there. Because I just wanted to know what was out there. And I took you at your word, And I think I actually said to you, that's good, because I would hate, that was the case. So then shortly thereafter, I get forwarded from Ken that there was 2 emails out there. And the one email said, I did speak to the other trustee. She is okay with the planned wine bar. You're good to go, from President Kazone. To which Ken responded, I'm assuming this means a full go for the liquor, food, gaming side of things in the city. And then President Kazone responds, that's correct. We have at least 4 votes in favor of the license. Good luck. Looking forward to having the new business there. So you misremembered, you lied to me. I don't know what happened on that phone call, but we're looking for facts and we're looking for truth. And I had a phone call with you and asked you specific, straight up, that question. And I did not get the facts. And that's concerning. And this email that you sent to him is concerning because you didn't have 4 votes. And you spoke out of turn. There's no license for you to give. Nobody doubts that as a liquor commissioner, you're free to take an existing license, do your diligence, and give it to an existing business. But you didn't have that license to give, and you were making promises that you couldn't keep. Then we fast forward to 9/24/24. 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 10 seconds into the meeting, I asked Ken a specific question. I said, can you run your business without gaming? And Ken replied back, quote, I can definitely run my business without gaming, end quote. So again, I took him at his word. Last meeting, we proposed a new liquor license that would allow you to open up a wine bar and start your business. So it's not fair to say that we're preventing Ken from opening his business. If he wants to open a wine bar, I believe there is support here. I'm not going to say you have the votes, because that would be improper. But I believe there's support here that you could get a liquor license and you could open up a wine bar. So facts are important. And we've gotten off track with people saying this and people saying that. It's all on video. And I think Deepa even wanted to look at the video, and I don't know if we've got access to it, but it's all there, and we can show it here if anybody needs to see it. But in short, we didn't have a consensus. We're going to review the liquor license statute. An email such as what President Kazone sent should never have gone to you. And you have an alternative, which is to open up your wine bar. And it just disappoints me that this even has to come up, and 3.5 years into being a trustee, I'm still fighting for facts and good law. But here we are.
Well,
now I yield the floor.
All right. First off, I want to apologize. I did not lie. I did not remember sending that email. I thought all my conversations with Ken were on the phone. So obviously I sent that out. I apologize that I didn't remember that. It was a year before. But as far as me sending that email, I have every right to tell him, either by email or by phone or by smoke signal, that there were 4 board members that would approve the liquor license. And that's what I told him, and I have every right to tell him that because we had 3 that night, and I talked to the 4th trustee. So I have every right to do that. But again, I apologize that I told you I didn't send an email because I don't remember. I had actually searched on my emails after I had talked to you and I couldn't find anything about that. So I just assumed that that was correct, so. But again, we're back, we're here discussing this ordinance, yes or no, whether we're going to allow it. Trustee Kumar.
I think the person who is looking for this license wants to speak. I would like to hear what he has to say.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Ken is raising his hand to say a few words.
Yeah,
I think
if the board's okay with him coming up, I'd be happy to have him come up
I'm okay with him
here.
coming up and talking.
Yep.
Well, first of all, thank you, Trustee Patrick, for allowing me to come back here again. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Trustee Kumar, for just seeing my hand up. Trustee Kozar, so I wanted to clarify this right off the bat. Now, you had just mentioned, like, at an hour 20 into that meeting on September 24th of 2024, I had said, yes, I'm able to. If I did, I misspoke, because that entire time that I was up there, I think it was almost 90 minutes, fielding questions from almost everyone. Almost every single time I had mentioned that is not part of the business plan. The business plan has $120,000 built into it of income from gaming. So I'm sorry if I did say that, I misspoke, but I did want to clarify that. Another point that I wanted to clarify was Trustee Corkery. I appreciate you being transparent with your policy of no gaming, but I believe President Cazone in the September meeting of 2023 did mention, when he was introducing the business, that it's a wine bar with some aspects of gaming. And I believe you were the first one to raise your hand and say yes. So I would strongly suggest that you take a look at that video and what President Cazone said. And you were the first hand up saying yes. So all I'm saying here, guys, is I'm just looking for fairness. That's it. I'm not looking for anything special that somebody else didn't get. I think there was a deli here earlier this year. They got a AAA license. They're building an actual gaming parlor next door. So, and that's not me saying, hey, they shouldn't do that. No, they've decided that their business needs that income. So they're doing that. And I think that's just fair. That if a business decides we're not going to make it, we need to get another revenue stream, and it's there, why wouldn't they take it? A dance studio came in not too long ago. Again, I'm not faulting these owners. It has nothing to do with these owners. They decided that gaming is going to help them. They've got a gaming application open right now. Does the dance studio need a gaming application? That's not for me to say. They need the income to keep their doors open and to help the residents. That's up to them. That's what they need. All I'm saying is what has been happening for the last year, since September of '23, I just want the same rules applied to me. And I think this is probably the 6th time that I'm having an interaction like this. Not here personally, but about this business. No other business has gone through this. I mean, this is like a forensic type of checkup on me, and I can't understand why. I've been talked about 6 times. I've got Facebook posts talking about me, my other business. I'm sure soon it's going to be talking about my family, my kids. I don't know why.
Trustee Corkery. I know you don't want to fault those other businesses, but I will. And I think the reason why we've heard so much outcry is because people are sick of seeing a sandwich parlor have gaming or seeing a dance bar have gaming. I mean, the number of businesses that it's expanded to, not just in Villa Park, but all over is crazy. And I think people are sick of it, and that's why I've heard so much about this. And I think we need to find a way to stop this from expanding. I mean,
Trustee Corkery, I completely understand what you're saying. All I'm saying is, again, in terms of fairness, I've been doing this project for over a year now. And I've been in the pipeline for over a year. Is it fair that even maybe, let's say, you try to use an analogy of something at work where your boss tells you, yes, go ahead and do this, you do a whole long project at work for something or another, then just as you're about to turn it in, they say, no, I never said that. I don't want that. And in terms of gaming with the other businesses, if you want to stop it, I am fully supportive of it. But it should be done after this is approved for the next business. The next person that comes here and says, hey, I want a wine bar, I want gaming, I want a deli, I want gaming, I want a dance studio, I want gaming, it's easy to say no. To say right there, sorry, we don't want it, residents don't want it. But having this conversation in 2023, going through what I've gone through, putting my savings that I've had into all of this, and now sitting here kind of just stuck in whatever is happening up here. I just feel like I'm in the middle. And I'm not a corporation. I'm just a little guy. I don't have a $700,000 revenue model that somebody had mentioned on Facebook. Obviously, that person does not know anything about how the gaming system works, how revenue, gross, net, any of that stuff is, because that is completely bad information. So all I'm saying, just give me some fairness. Give me the same rules that were applied to everyone else.
again, just to reiterate, those other businesses were only granted that license because Villa Park has no mechanism to grant a liquor license without a gaming license. And again, I would like to see that change as quickly as possible, and as soon as we can get something on the agenda to open it up to allow the board to approve gaming-free liquor licenses, I would like to see that.
We do, and we have two of them now.
Yeah, we did
We
that.
have two of them now.
So with that, what I'm hearing, again, this is not towards you.
If I may.
Oh.
Finish. But the people of Villa Park have reached out to me overwhelmingly and said no more. They don't want any more. And if your business
Completely get it.
cannot continue without gaming, if you cannot find a way to make it work, then the people of Villa Park have told me that they do not want that business in the town, and I must listen to my constituents.
Trustee Cordova.
So I'm on some of the emails that we get from people either showing support or not showing support. More than willing, anyone can FOIA my emails and see that. I don't know if it's more of that I get emails from residents that are saying we are in favor of because I was up here and being in favor of, or if you're just yelling into an echo chamber and you're getting emails back from people that also agree with you. There is no data that we have that shows, there's no data that we have in Villa Park that says that there's a majority of people that want gaming or not. That is nothing that we have. So when we say, or if you hear or you see anyone saying, this is the data, this is the data, here's a survey, here is a ballot measure, anything like that, we don't have that. So we don't, a majority of emails that we may get
or maybe for or against something, or text messages or messages to a website, whatever it would be. I just want to make sure that we understand that there's no data that says yes or no. It may be a overwhelming in your inbox, but our inbox is not everyone, right? So in a way, yes, I do agree. We should listen to the people that actually reach out to us. But if we were to listen to the people that reach out to us, we are going to have a little bit more alignment into what we say. If I say, I never want another deli place in town, there's too many, right? Whatever. I don't believe that at all. I think we should have 10 more. But if I were to say that, I would get emails that say, I agree with you. You know, there's not a whole lot of opposition that happens in email. And we have email, some of it have Facebook pages, some of it have websites, text messages, whatever it would be. If I were to look at all of the people that came in and talked to me about the liquor license, I am overwhelmingly having more pro than con. So I just want to just have a bench there that says we don't have that data. I think someone, I can't remember who said it, said that we should put it on a ballot. I agree. We should have some type of mechanism that says, what do you want, right? And then we are here for the will of the people. And if the people say, we don't want gambling, we don't want gaming, we don't want whatever, then sure, then fine, that's what the people want, that's what we have to do. But if we're just kind of listening to the 5 or 10 emails that we get every once in a while of people, some of them are, I mean, there's no names on some of them. Sometimes if you kind of reverse look up the email, it's just nothing. So just want to just kind of clarify for everyone, there is no data that says that Villa Park overwhelmingly, or a majority of people are for or against gaming in Villa Park.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. So I have heard a couple of things this evening and the whole discussion about how the board has been accused of voting for personal reasons, and I would really like to address not just the voting for personal reasons, but some of the discussions that we are having and where we are leaning. And the personal reasons. I take offense to the personal reasons part. And while what Trustee Cordova says, we don't have any ballot measure, and that is true, and shame on us for not having that. However, I go to PTA meetings, and people know that I sit on the board, and they have a discussion with me, and they come up to me, and they want to tell me what they're feeling. They don't want to email me because I'm right there in front of them. I go to Highview and they want to talk to me about things. They're like, hey, I know you. Can we talk about some of these things? I don't love that they do that. My kid doesn't love that they do that. But this is just part of being a public figure, being a leader in the community, and being open and being there to talk to the people and to talk to your neighbors. So with that said, I am fielding a bunch of, no, we're done with this. And it's not just the people that I know, it is people who recognize me. Or there are places where I'll walk in and I will introduce myself, even with business owners. And even some business owners are like, yeah, but we have to kind of stop that. We have to slow the roll there. So it's not just about what we're getting in our inbox. I don't think that that's the data that we should be looking at either. I think it's about getting out in your community, knowing your neighbors, going to the PTA meetings, going to all of the events, and really listening to what people are saying and not just waiting to be keyboard warrior and listening to what is going to come at you. You really have to seek out what people want. Ask them the questions too, because we can do that. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Trustee Corkery.
Yeah, I would just like to add to that, I mean, of course, there's not going to be a statistically valid survey for everything that comes in front of the board, because if there was, then we wouldn't need to have a village board at all. We would just have people vote on everything. So our job is to take the temperature of the community and see what people want. You know, I talk to people at the grocery store, I see people at Highview, and most of my decision-making, at least I try, is based on talking to people and the issues that people choose to engage with. And this is the number one issue more than anything else in the whole 3.5 years that I've been serving on the board, is this gaming issue. This is the thing that I hear about the most. And so I must listen to my constituency.
I appreciate that, Trustee Corkery, but may I remind you, the last 2 AAA licenses that have come through here, you've approved, the board has approved 7 no. And they've gotten gaming since then. And when you approved those, I was already in the pipeline. I was already told, yes, go ahead with it. And I was already doing the build out. I was already investing the money I was investing my time, and I just want to just remind everyone about that there was two 7-0 votes, and now those people have, now, I think, I keep kicking myself for this. I think the biggest mistake I made here is I was maybe too transparent. I should have just done what all these other businesses did, said, I'm having a wine bar, guys. That's it. And I'm sure I'd get a 7-0. Then I should have just quietly, just like everybody else, did the little gaming thing on the side. I'm an idiot for that. I should have done that. Instead, I came forward the only way I know how, which is to be transparent with you guys. We're doing a wine bar. We're doing some aspects of gaming, as President Cazone had mentioned. And I should have just kept my mouth shut. I should have just done what everybody else did. So I think that's the reason I'm here, having this discussed the 6th time versus everybody else who has had 2 discussions.
Trustee Kumar.
A couple of things that come to mind, actually. One thing is, from the beginning, if you saw the reading with I said okay to a wine bar from the beginning. Now, and I never, ever had the issue of gaming in my mind when I made that initial decision. So the discussion of gaming and the actual discussion only came in retrospect, in my mind. So you only had 3 votes at the time, actually, for the gaming aspect. The gaming aspect I only heard of when I came to the meeting where I very cleanly was against it, right? That's the point. I was already against it. I was one of the nays, and we pushed it off. We basically pushed it off. Because I have been hearing from many, many people that there's a issue with the whole licensing process. Now, my way of dealing with it eventually will be by supply and demand. At this point, you guys are stuck at the crux. It's only your business that's kind of stuck there, because whatever happens, that the licenses that we have in the future, I feel that include gaming should be priced much, much higher, given the cost aspect and the return on the ROI. The reason you're putting gaming in there and everybody's putting gaming in there is there's unprecedented return on those gaming machines. You need them for running your business is one statement, but it's because there's return. If the return is 0, nobody's going to put those in there. So you and the other businesses all feel, oh, well, this is easy. And we have businesses in town what have put them in that traditionally we valued the ability to sit at, eat food at, do other things at, and they switched it during COVID, understandably. And a lot of people did things during COVID, and now in retrospect, they've decided, okay, this is better than what we had before. We're making more money off of this than having the people of Villa Park sit in places. And all the reach out, a lot of the reach out never came about your particular business and was not targeted towards your business. It was targeted clearly to the fact that many of our restaurants are gone. Many of the places we used to go to that we valued as that unit, because they have the option to game, and it's automatically built in, that option to game. If I give you a free option, if someone came to me and said, well, you can have Microsoft stock for free, I'm definitely going to go get Microsoft stock for free. So that option is built in by our state law for some reason. And I, probably because the state also needs money, and they make a huge amount of money of it. I mean, if you look at the details about how much the state makes and how much we make about $700,000 off of gaming machines, right? Just this gaming aspect, Village of Villa Park makes about $700,000. And the state of Illinois, wait. let me get my data just so I can address this, makes a lot of money off of gaming machines. Let's see. $2.8 billion were lost in 2023 on gaming machines, right? By Illinois constituents overall. And the reason they do that, well, you need to pay for the roads. It all goes towards the roads of Illinois, by the way. The money that gets lost on gaming is refunneled into capital projects. That's how that's set up overall. And so the state obviously needs money for capital projects, is pushing this and making money off of it much more than Villa Park does. We're just kind of a small player in this whole thing. And as a town, we're probably at the low end in terms of gaming revenue altogether. But there are a lot of cities that are against it, and I think our constituents are speaking. They are saying, we want to be like those other cities next to us. Elmhurst, for instance, only allows gaming at the VFW. That's the only place. So there are constituents very close to us, whereas you have other constituents, if you take Addison, it's a free reign there. So there are places that you can do a free reign on gaming. So I think what they're speaking to us is, please change this law, make it more amenable and make it more transparent. Unfortunately, you got caught in our transparency ploy as a village, but we're trying to make the whole situation more transparent for businesses. We on the board don't have a transparent situation when we're looking at a business. What comes to us is a liquor license. We don't actually give anybody a gaming license. The state gives the gaming license. We have no rights to give anybody a gaming license. All we have the right to do is to decide on a liquor license or not, right? And so this is the first step we can make as an autonomous village to address that. Unfortunately, you got caught up in that. That's the truth of it. It's not that we want to turn away one particular business.
So one thing I will, I'm sorry for taking everybody's time. I know I was up here for a long time before, and I don't want to do it again. But the $700,000 that the village receives every single, was that per year, right?
That was last year.
Last year, okay. So where does that $700,000 go to the village? Like for the village, where does that go?
Goes in the general fund.
It goes into general
So
fund.
I think I just heard for your budget for this year, you guys are minus 300,000 for, and then you're gonna have to, having to get 300,000 from the general fund? So, right? I mean, I'm just trying to get an understanding of where this money goes.
That was based on our levy.
That
was
depends on if we accept the
But it's going somewhere,
Yeah.
right? It's going somewhere. It's going to, whether it be roads, whether it be tree trimming, whether it be snow removal, it's going somewhere within the village. So I get the residents. I completely understand it. I mean, I'm in the city of Algonquin, and Algonquin does not really allow gaming, right? And that's totally fine. I know right next to, I live by Carpentersville, there's gaming places all over the place. Is that family friendly? No. Should they exist? That's not for me to say. I mean, if they're making money for the village keeps approving it, that's up to them. But the discussions that you guys want to have today about whether or not this business can survive without gaming, whether we need to have a quadruple A license and whether that's acceptable for me, I think those discussions need to happen after this vote. And I fully support those discussions. And I'm sure all the other business owners in Villa Park will also support it. All the residents would support it. But I think people can understand why me just kind of being, I feel like I'm having to shoulder the burden of this whole thing. I've been, again, 6 times this has come up. And it just seems like and I know you guys are saying that it's not me, but it sure as heck feels like it's me. Because this keeps coming up. And I'm just looking for a vote. I'm just looking for yes or no. And if you guys want to make those changes, that's great. You got it in 2 weeks. Make those changes in 2 weeks. But don't penalize me for doing all the right things up to now.
Okay. Anyone else? Trustee Patrick?
Thank you. I don't have much to say. I know that we have been talking about this for quite some time, like you have said there. I will, first of all, agree with Trustee Alfano and Trustee Corkery that a large amount of the times that I have communication with our constituents is when we are out and about, whether that be at Highview, whether that be at Simons or Crazy Pour, or whether I'm coaching basketball or football with the parents. That is where these conversations happen, a majority of them. And a majority of those conversations that I have had with those people have told me that they are not in favor of gaming. We do have people that email us too for that evidence or record that we are looking for. And before I go any further, though, I have nothing really left to say, but I was asked by our Villa Park VFW to read into record the email that they sent to this entire board. So I'll do that. To the village president and board of trustees of Villa Park, I'm writing to express serious concerns regarding the potential issuance of yet another liquor license to a new business at 24 East St. Charles Road, Bear Hospitality Incorporated, doing business as Lena's Lounge, particularly as it may also seek to expand into gambling. This decision will have a significant negative impact on both local businesses and nearby residents, especially those living close to the proposed establishment. One of the most pressing issues is parking. We are all aware of the parking challenges that plagued the previous business at this location, with customers parking in our lots and crossing busy St. Charles Road. With Lena's Lounge seating capacity limited to 49 people for food service, how will the establishment accommodate its patrons? This will likely worsen the ongoing parking issues. Furthermore, St. Charles Road and Cornell Avenue, which leads to the train station, are already congested, particularly during weekday rush hours when commuters are traveling to and from downtown Chicago. Adding another liquor-serving business will only exacerbate this congestion, making it more difficult for residents to navigate their neighborhood and for existing businesses to attract customers. The village has seen a noticeable increase in the number of liquor licenses issued, but it appears that these decisions are being made without considering the long-term impact on the community. The history and character of Villa Park must be taken into account when making decisions about growth and development. While I understand the need for new revenue streams, this must be balanced with the potential harm to existing businesses and the community at large. We already have 6 similar establishments in the area, and there is only so much competition this market can bear. I strongly urge the village to reassess the number of liquor and gambling licenses being granted in Villa Park. This town has a rich history, and its residents are committed to its growth and improvement, as evidenced by the work of organizations like the VFW Post 2801, which has long supported local development. Instead of bringing in more gambling establishments, we should be focusing on creating vibrant neighborhoods that enhance the quality of life for all residents. Please take into consideration the broader effects on traffic, parking, and the overall community when considering this new liquor license. I respectfully request that the village carefully evaluate the number of similar businesses already in operation before granting additional licenses. Sincerely, J.B. Blankshame, Commander, VFW Post 2801. So, this was asked to be read into the record on behalf of the Villa Park VFW Post 2801. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just go to.
Just a point of clarification. The Villa Park VFW 2801 has 6 gaming machines. So I don't know if there's a conflict of interest in hearing something get read in from what would be competition. I'm not sure, I'm okay with that, but I just want to let that be known that, from 2022 all the way to this year, they've put in almost $7 million of amount played there. So just to, again, use some data here, just to understand what we're hearing, what we're understanding, what we're listening to, is the VFW does not want you to have a gaming license. They're right across the street from you.
A comment about the VFW, and I completely respect where they're coming from. I completely understand where they're coming from. One thing that we had done, if you would look back at the meeting from, I believe it was September of this year, we presented statistics, all the data, actual hard data, not feelings, but actual data that showed that as you increase licenses here in Villa Park, other businesses did not suffer. Those numbers stood steady, if not increased. I believe there was an increase of, I believe it was just single-digit growth every single year. So it never hurt a business. And that's actual data that we presented up on the board.
So just to clarify, these are not my words.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
But what I will
I'm
say is that if you read the email that was sent to all the board members up here, it dives into more than just a liquor license. It talks about parking and other issues as well. So I'm simply stating what I was asked to read into record by an establishment, a long-running establishment in our town
I respect that.
that does not need gambling to move on because they are an established business. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I also think that in response and in this conversation to the VFW's message, it is Veterans Day. And our neighbors just to the east of us in Elmhurst, I was corrected at one point in this discussion, and I was told that Elmhurst doesn't have 0 gaming licenses. They have 1, and the only one that they gave us to, that was the American Legion, correct?
Correct, that's a state.
Yes,
The
I
state
understand that, but that's the only one that they
The state
allow.
allows a charitable organization to have gaming if they have a liquor license.
So it is a charitable organization.
Correct.
Thank
That's
you.
the only, yeah. Elmhurst had no say in that, really. It's just, it's something the state says
My
that they can
point
do.
is, it's a charitable organization, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Trustee Kumar.
Yeah, the competition or the perception, that will never weigh in my decision here. Because I believe your business model has a totally different demographic than the people attending the veterans. So that competition aspect, which they may feel, I do not think we should call that up as anything and even think about that during our vote. That may not sway my vote in any way. However, parking is definitely an issue that we come across again and again in Villa Park. A lot of people complain about parking. One thing, I did go see that place, they have increased the parking spots from what there was in the past. So I do want to clarify that taking the Nunzio's parking lot, this is not the Nunzio's parking lot. They've almost doubled the parking spaces there. So that's something to be honest about. They have addressed the parking issue per se. But that doesn't mean that there are not too many businesses with gambling on the whole street of St. Charles, and that's the concern that I hear again and again. Some of which started as something else, and because they have this license, have this potential. Now, as I said, the quadruple A, I think you will get right away, but simply you do not have the votes, I'm pretty sure, to get the triple A, and I've been saying this for days.
Okay. Anyone else?
But I will wait till everybody weighs in.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other comments? Okay. I just think the final
Can we just-
comments are, here's a gentleman that's got almost $1 million into this building, and, in the future, obviously, we've talked about not allowing gaming again, but for whatever reason, he was given the okay, and he's got his life into this building right now, so consider that when you vote. Okay, Clerk Kornecki.
Hey, trustee Corkery,
No.
trustee Patrick,
No.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
okay, trustee Kumar,
No.
trustee Alfano,
Just to be clear, we're not keeping a business from opening. We're just keeping this business from
Wait, yes-
having
yes or
gaming.
no, please?
So this is a no.
trustee Kozar,
No.
and President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, so that does not pass, so we'll have to move on from there. Okay, item 12A, ordinances. An ordinance providing for the issuance of $756,500 general obligation limited tax bonds, Series 2024A of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, and for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal of and interest on said bonds. Manager Harline.
Annually, the village sells bonds for the purpose of providing funds to pay debt service on the village's general obligation refund bonds or from an alternative revenue source, Series 2017, and general obligation bonds, alternative revenue source, Series 2022A. These alternative revenue bonds are to be funded by rollover bonds issued each fall, which are paid back by using our non-home rule debt service extension extension base. The DSEB capacity provides some additional funding for capital purchases such as vehicles, bidding improvements, etc., building improvements, etc. The rollover bonds were competitively bid on November 7th, and a favorable rate was received for a total aggregate principal of $756,500. This ordinance approves the sale and the as listed below to People's National Bank of Kewanee, Illinois, at an interest rate of 3.62%. We also have Anthony Maselli here from Spear if we have any other additional questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Kumar, we have a second. Trustee Cordova, any questions or comments?
Did just want to make sure that everyone, I know this board understands it because the question was asked 2 weeks ago and understood this has nothing to do with the union project. This is simply an operation bond issue.
Any questions? Clerk Kornecki.
Trustee
No,
Kozar?
Oh, hang
I
on.
have a question. So how are these bonds paid for? Where is those funds coming from?
Go ahead.
No, I don't know that this is a question for you. I think if anything, this is a question for Chuck. Director,
Well, why don't you speak?
Howard.
Come
Well-
and give your,
Yeah, it's, so the debt service extension base is the payment source. What that is it's a property tax that you're allowed to levy, and it's limited by a dollar amount. And we levy, the bonds will levy up to that dollar amount in each year that we issue them.
so payment for this is coming from our property taxes. So in order to freeze the tax levy, this is in contradiction to that. No, you're on the hot seat. You wanted to talk, have at it.
Let me put it this way, though. So you, as a non-home rule entity, have this, what's called a debt service extension base. So it's a limit to how much you can levy every year for the payment of non-referendum general obligation bonds. So every year, we issue these bonds to use that levy authority. If you were to not issue the bonds, it's not that you're freezing the tax levy, it's that the tax levy would drop in that year. However, without the issuance of the bonds, we don't have a payment source for the 22A bonds and the 2017 bonds, which rely on these annual issuances for a payment source. They also provide funds, and in this case, the bonds are going to provide just over $250,000 for capital projects.
Okay, so two things there. One is we're getting new bonds to pay off the old bonds. It's like taking out a credit card because you've maxed out your previous credit card. So you're gonna pay with the new credit card for the old credit card. It's analogous to that. And number two, we're paying for it from our tax levy. So all our residents, the entire concept of just holding tight on our tax levy for 1 year, which I've been fighting for every year that I've been up on this board, is an impossibility because we have to pay for the new credit card.
If you levied the same amount every year, this would be included in that.
So if we levied the same amount every year, so the increase of last year, is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is we did this last year,
Right.
and therefore doing it again wouldn't increase the levy. It would be the same.
Okay. So am I hearing correctly that if I were to vote in favor of this, we can still have the ability to not, as a percentage, raise our property taxes? It would just be the same as it was? Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Clerk Kinnicky.
Did you want to add anything to that, Chuck, or is that?
No, that's the explanation of how these bonds work, and I think that was.
Okay, Clerk Kinnicky.
Okay, Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. Item 13A is a resolution authorizing the village's 2025 employee health insurance program. Manager Harline.
The resolution authorizes the village manager to enter into an agreement for the renewals of the 2025 Employee Health Insurance Program. Agreements with the providers of the village's employer-sponsored health insurance plans will expire on December 31, 2024. Staff recommends that the village continue its agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois for employees and retiree health insurance effective January 2025, with an overall anticipated increase of 7.18%. BCB SIL will also provide coverage for the village's dental, life insurance, and critical illness plans. Staff also recommends staying with VSP for vision coverage. The proposed resolution would authorize the village manager to execute the various agreements with the health insurance providers for the 2025 renewal, and staff recommends approval of this resolution. Assistant Village Manager McVeigh is here to answer any questions, and I wanted to add that with the work that she did and making sure that we worked with our represented employees, I think we had a important discussion about moving away from grandfathered plans. There's always nervousness whenever you affect anyone's health insurance. There are some features of that plan that are very, familiar. There are some parts that are driving up costs. And so in the long run, we may need to continue to look at different options. One of the big changes in the market, of course, is the cost of prescription medicines, and especially very effective but somewhat expensive insurance or medicines, prescriptions. Anyway, I've talked more than I intended to, and staff recommends approval of the resolution, and if you have any other questions, Assistant Village Manager McVeigh should be able to answer them.
Okay, we have a motion. Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
We have a second.
I'll make
Trustee Corkery? Okay, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kinnicky, please.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
President Kazal.
Yes. 13B is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park authorizing the execution of an agreement between the Village of Villa Park and Kluber, Inc. for professional architectural and engineering consulting services related to the temporary relocation of Fire Station 81 to the recreational facility located at 338 North Iowa Avenue, Villa Park, Illinois. Manager Harline.
This resolution authorizes the village manager to execute an agreement for professional architectural and engineering consulting services for the renovation needed for the temporary relocation of the Villa Park Fire Department to the Iowa Community Center located at 338 North Iowa Avenue, Villa Park, Illinois. The cost for the consulting services is estimated at $24,700 plus expenses, which are estimated not to exceed $500. Staff recommends approval of the resolution, and this is what the discussion during the committee of the whole was about. We have both Director McLaughlin, Community Economic Development McLaughlin, and Fire Chief Steve Stapleton here if you have any further questions.
Okay, do I have a motion? Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
You have a second? Trustee Corkery? Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Hernecki.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar. Yes. Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Item 13C is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park authorizing the execution of an agreement between the Village of Villa Park and Old Republic Surety Company. Manager Harline.
The resolution authorizes the village manager to execute the settlement, release, and assignment agreement between the village and Old Republic Surety Company to resolve the matter of the contract default with Valley Electrical. The village would then release, discharge, and cancel the original performance bond back to surety, and surety agrees to pay the village $191,155. Staff recommends approval of this resolution. This has been, a difficult negotiation to go through. We found out in March of '24 the Valley Electric was not going to be able to, they were going to cease operations and not be able to do the electrical work at their recreation center. And we've reached a settlement of all the costs that are due back to us from the surety at that figure that I just announced. And Attorney Wolf handled a lot of that agreement, so if you have any questions, he'd probably be the best person to answer those questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Alfano?
I'll make
You have a
that
second?
motion.
Trustee Corkery? Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Hernecki.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar. Yes. Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Item 13D is a resolution estimating the tax levy for 2024 in compliance with the Truth and Taxation Law. Manager Harline.
Yes. This resolution establishes before adoption of the tax levy ordinance, the village must determine what its probable aggregate levy will be and compare it to the previous year's aggregate tax extension. The probable aggregate levy in the annual corporate levy, not including debt service levies, is, the village is tax capped, so the majority of the levy can increase by the lesser of the consumer price index, or 5%. This resolution estimates the percentage of the current year's probable aggregate levy over property taxes extended for the preceding year is 2.8%. This is the first step in the annual levy process. The final levy ordinance will be considered for adoption in December. So again, this does not set the levy. This just accepts the fact that we will not be going over the 2.8% and makes it clear that we do not need to have a public hearing on a levy over the PTEL limit. So,
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion for the resolution. Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
We have a second. Trustee Kumar? Any questions or comments? Trustee Kozar?
So this vote is just informative? There's no nothing binding on this? And then the second part of that question is, if this resolution is voted down, what is the outcome?
So to answer your first question, this is merely an estimation that determines the tax levy as within that 105% of the previous tax year. So this is not the tax levy ordinance. This does not establish your tax levy on property taxes. What this does is estimate, based upon the continuation of the current services, what the proposed increase would be, and it determines that it's within that 5% increase from the previous year, or 105% increase from the previous year. If this is not approved, because the law requires that the corporate authorities actually make the determination of the estimated tax levy, and that's all this is doing. It's determining the estimation. If this isn't approved, it will interrupt the calendar timeline required for the approval of the tax levy ordinance. So the tax levy ordinance cannot be approved less than 20 days from the date you make your determination here today. So you have to wait a period of at least 20 days before the tax levy ordinance is approved. So if this is delayed, this determination on the estimate, it will impede the ability to pass the tax levy ordinance at all in
Well,
December.
But ultimately, as an estimate, that 2.8 can change.
Correct, that can. So the ultimate determination with respect to the tax levy will be via an ordinance that's approved by the public body in at least no less than 20 days from now.
Okay.
And this establishes the board's intent not to exceed that amount. So that's one of the critical things here, is that we're making it clear that we're not going to hold a public hearing. We're not planning to exceed that amount. So that there is an important part of this resolution.
Trustee Kumar.
We are merely voting on the estimate, correct?
Yes, you're voting on the determining the estimate. Yes.
You're accepting the estimate as a valid proof or data point or as a valid estimate. That's basically what we're doing today, correct?
Yes. You're essentially making the determination that this is what the estimate is, and the estimate would be a 2.8% increase.
And that's clarifying to the public of Villa Park how much that 2.8% increase at max would be, so that it's informative as well to our Villa Park citizens.
Correct. And required by state law to make the estimate and make that determination.
Okay. Anyone else? Hey, Clerk Kornecki.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
excuse me, trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Kozar,
Yes.
president Kazone.
Yes. Okay, item 14A is unfinished business, discussion of the Village Board of Trustees Rules of Order and Procedures. Manager Hartline.
At the request of Trustee Kozar, the rules and order and procedure for the Board of Trustees of the Village of Villa Park have been included for discussion, and I think we began the discussion last week, and this is just an opportunity to continue that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the rules are in everyone's packet. Anyone have any discussion on that? Anyone?
I do have a
Trustee
question.
Alfano.
So is there a mechanism for us to ask to remove something from the agenda before it is published? I know we get like a draft agenda. Is there a mechanism where the trustees can request that something is removed, or is that not something that is allowed by ordinance or code?
This board does have the ability to remove an item from an agenda. You would do that on amendments to agenda. It would be via a motion, and that is seconded and then voted upon by the board.
Okay.
Are you asking at the meeting or prior to the meeting, before
Yes.
we even meet?
Yes.
So prior to meeting, because you can't take any final action outside of a meeting of the public body, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay.
But you would be capable of doing it at the meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Trustee Kozar.
I'd like this to be put back on for our next meeting. On Sunday night, we got a memo from Attorney Wolf that I had requested 4 weeks ago, over 4 weeks ago. We just got it on Sunday night, so let's keep this on the agenda, and let's talk about it again next week, or next meeting.
Okay with that?
Is there any without objection? I mean, Ed?
Yeah, okay.
If there are specific questions or, anything else that you want prepared, that'd be for the discussion, unless you just want to discuss the results of that email.
Yeah, we'll do that in the next meeting on the 25th. Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we will move to the village clerk's report.
Yes, I'd like to, a couple things. One is, this is actually the week where we have those who are, have petitions to present that they want to be candidates at the consolidated election on April 1st of 2025. The presentation of those petitions begins tomorrow. So as the election official for the village, I will be accepting petitions tomorrow starting 9 a.m. when the village actually opens. I will be in the office doing that all morning, and my schedule will be that I will do that again the next morning, Wednesday, the 13th, and then Thursday through the whole day, Friday morning. The final day for presenting the petitions is Monday, the 18th. So that is, I will be in the office probably all day because many people come in through the day, and especially at the closure at 5 p.m. At 5 p.m., that is it, the last petition's in hand, and that is all that I will accept. Anyway, so that's information for those who are library trustees, village trustees, village president, and any other clerk, anybody with petitions. So that begins tomorrow morning here at the Village Hall. I will be in the manager's office for convenience tomorrow morning in that area. The other thing I do want to mention is that the Kiwanis have a spaghetti dinner on this Friday, which is, what is it, the 15th?
Yeah, the 15th, yeah.
15th, okay. So many days, thank you very much. Anyway, this is a fundraiser. Kiwanis Club of Villa Park has now merged, or the Lombard Club has merged with the Villa Park Club, Lombard Club that was failing, and they wanted to keep going, and they didn't want to drop their members, and so they've joined with us. So it's now the Kiwanis Club of Villa Park / Lombard. And so we are holding our fundraiser. It's a spaghetti dinner, annual one at Willowbrook High School. So it's at 5 p.m. And we hope that the public will come and enjoy it. If you've been there before, you know it's really good. Have a great chef that does the food. And so if you would come, please do. Everybody's welcome, $10 for adults. And what's kind of nice is that there's a play in Willowbrook that kind of makes it a dinner and a show for many folks, kind of look at it that way. So thank you, President, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, village trustees report. We'll start on my right tonight.
Oh, thank you. I have a few words prepared for Veterans Day, but before I do, I just wanted to thank the Villa Park VFW Post 2801 for a spectacular Veterans Day service today at the Post. It was an excellent job, well done. They do a great job every year for honoring our veterans. Also, a special thank you to Tony Odo of Michael Anthony's Pizza. He was able to help us in a pinch when we kind of had a food crisis emergency, and he was Johnny on the spot and was able to help us get some food for that event. So thank you to Tony Odo there. So today, on this Veterans Day, the 11th day of the 11th month, we gather to honor those who have served. We all know the words, "Thank you for your service." But how often do we pause to truly understand what we are thanking veterans for? When a person chooses to serve in the military, they sacrifice much more than just time. They step away from family, from friends, from a life of comfort and predictability. They take on a role that demands resilience, bravery, and selflessness. Veterans sacrifice birthdays and holidays with loved ones. They give up the sense of safety and stability that we often take for granted. They put themselves in harm's way so that others may live free. But beyond the physical challenges and separation, there is the hidden toll that military service can take on a person's mind and spirit. Many veterans return home with scars that are not visible, scars of trauma and loss, reminders of what they have seen and endured. These invisible wounds, like PTSD, can be difficult to understand and even harder to bear. As a veteran myself living with PTSD, I know the strength and resolve it takes to move forward, carrying these experiences of my military service with me. I have faced these challenges head-on, and they have only strengthened my commitment to my family, my community, and my role as a public servant. Some may use a veteran's mental health as a way to question their fitness for service, even after they have sacrificed so much for others. But let me be clear, PTSD or any other mental health challenge does not define a person's character or their ability to serve. In fact, many veterans emerge from their experiences with a stronger sense of purpose and a greater empathy for others. Our scars remind us of our strength and resilience, and that is something to be honored, not used to shame or undermine. To truly thank a veteran is to recognize the depth of their sacrifices and to stand behind them without judgment. It means understanding that their journey doesn't end when they take off the uniform. We can best honor our veterans by supporting them in their struggles, respecting their contributions, and recognizing their continued value to society. As I stand here before you today, I am proud of my military service and my journey. And despite the challenges, I am devoted as ever to serving this community with honor, integrity, and compassion. This Veterans Day, let's remember that a true thank you means standing by our veterans, uplifting them, and showing them the same commitment that they have shown us. To all veterans, thank you for your service, for your courage, and your sacrifices. May we all strive to be worthy of what you have given. Thank you.
Trustee Cordova.
No report this week.
Hey, Trustee Kozar.
More of a question, Clerk Konecki, the last two elections, you've had the tradition of putting everybody's name into a hat, so to speak, to choose out of the hat, rather than having people line up early in the morning first on the ballot. Will you be continuing that tradition?
Well, yes, but that only will have to do with those who say they were there to want to be first on the ballot. So those who say they really aren't concerned if they're first or second or third would not be part of that, that type of drawing.
Sure.
But those who say they want to be first, and there'd be more than one person saying that, yes, we would have to draw for that, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. And then I also just want to thank the veterans here on Veterans Day for your service, your dedication. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I also want to wish our veterans a blessed Veterans Day. Not only the veterans here in Villa Park and around our nation, but to my husband, who is a United States Marine Corps veteran, and of course to Trustee Patrick, who sits on the opposite end of me. So thank you for your service. We are very proud of our veterans here in Villa Park. We just need to walk to Cortese to take a look at the bricks that the VFW and the village staff have a hand in putting in there, along with the people who donated to put their loved ones' names on those bricks. So thank you for helping to make that park look just amazing in light of what that park really means for our community. It is starting to become very close to our holiday season, and it is starting to get cold. DuPage 211 is your source for health and social services locally, and also it is the holidays, and 988 Suicide Crisis Lifeline is there for you should anybody need anything, or you are experiencing anything that you really need some help with. And I encourage people to use that as necessary. Congratulations to our winners of the Halloween Decoration Award, and thank you to those residents who decorated and created our spooky Villa Park. Our village is second to none when it comes to celebrating Halloween. It's so much fun to go trick-or-treating, and it's not just one day, it's kind of the season that we have here in Villa Park. So thank you, neighbors, for making that just so much fun in our community every year. And congratulations again to the Fun Commission on the success of that Autumn Jubilee. There's a lot of talent on that commission, as you've seen, and that has they bring a lot of flair, and they create a lot of fun for our community, so thank you. And I want to thank Manager Harline and village staff for quickly attending to a clerical error that I brought your attention to early, and I'm not somebody who brings up something last minute, but I noticed it last minute, and our staff was great at making those changes quickly, so thank you very much for that. And that's all I have.
Okay, Trustee Kumar.
I want to piggyback off of a few things. Definitely, I would like to reach out to all our veterans and thank them for their service. There's the safety of our country is always in their hands, and that's not something we can take lightly in any way or form, leave alone the safety of many others in many other countries as well. So remember, the United States veterans have helped many in the United States and many outside of the United States, so it's not a single-handed, it's not a small job by any means, and thank you for those who are part of our board and our veterans for their statements and their feelings with regards to PTSD, which is a serious concern. As a health economist, I do know that, it's a real serious concern in our veterans and many other first responders as well. It is something that is that has to be dealt with and can be dealt with and can be overcome. Now, one other thing, the Autumn Jubilee, I was there. It was fun. They had many interesting vendors out there, and I also bought the bread that sold out. I have a little piece left in my freezer. That was pretty awesome. And there were some cool things like honey from various places. I think this is a festival that's going to grow year to year to year. I feel that there's been immense growth in the past year, and it'll continue to grow. There are a lot of interesting things that we can add on top of what we have already to just make this destination autumn Villa Park. So I'm glad to see that it's gone to 500 people, and I really thank all the people who put their efforts into making it happen, including staff who were there to help, and all of the vendors that were there, and the food. I love the corn myself. It was pretty good, and I'm just happy that everybody was out there having a good time, and I hope that tradition continues and continues to grow with more activities for children, more activities for everyone, just becomes more and more fun and family friendly, because we used to have in yesteryear when I was growing up a really large autumn festival in Villa Park, and that was the only thing we did. Now, over time, that we've done a lot more things. We've kind of staggered our festivals and things we do in Villa Park to make it just more interesting for everyone. So this is just one more thing that's coming up that I think is going to be great over the years, and just keep growing and making Villa Park great again.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Corkery.
I'll just piggyback really quickly on what Clerk Kornecki said, and that the school play is coming up. Willowbrook High School will be presenting the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee as the fall musical this year, which is a big favorite of mine. It's a great show. I was lucky enough to be in it when they did it last time back in 2012. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the cast and crew have come up with this time and their new take on the story. So that'll be November 14th, 15th, and 16th at 7 p.m. at Willowbrook High School. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you'll move on to the village president's report. I too would like to thank all our veterans. We wouldn't be where we're at without the sacrifices of all of our veterans, including Trustee Patrick. Thank you. I was honored today to speak at the VFW on their celebration today, and very moving. All of the speakers did a great job. The commander, Jim Blankshane, had a really touching story going back to the Vietnam War. And I know a lot of young people don't know what the Vietnam War was, or they were too young to realize it, but I was just at the tail end of it, and I was not drafted. The draft was done by the time I was 18, but I knew a lot of people that had friends and family that went, and so it's a lot of sacrifice that our service men and women have done over the 270 years of our country, so thanks to them. Electronic recycling will be this Saturday, 9 to 12 on Home Street, right next door to the Village Hall here. You have to be a Villa Park resident and show your license, but again, if you have old TVs, radios, bring them in. And Thanksgiving will be 2 weeks from Thursday, and the 41st annual Dan Gibbons Turkey Trot will be held as usual in Elmhurst, 9 o'clock on Thanksgiving morning. Saturday, November 23rd, and Sunday, November 24th will be pre-registration at the Knights of Columbus Hall at York Street and Villette in Elmhurst. DanGibbonsTurkeyTrot.com is the website if you'd like to sign up online. Price is the same as last year, so if you'd like to come out and enjoy Thanksgiving with 8,000 of your closest friends, come on out 9 o'clock on Thanksgiving morning. And that's all I have. We'll go to the village manager.
All right. Got a couple of things. So we had a bit of a difficulty taking credit card payments at the Metro parking lot for a while, which we didn't make a big announcement about because to avoid confusion. It is now working. So we stopped any enforcement because it wasn't working properly, but we will resume enforcement. And if you had figured out that it wasn't working and had stopped paying, start paying again, so. We reached a settlement in the Wawa case, and that will be on the next board meeting. Glad to hear about that, glad that we did that. Again, the Kiwanis spaghetti dinner is this Friday. Yeah, I know a guy who has tickets if anybody wants them, and on the Friday, if you stay for the show, you get like a dinner theater. It's a great thing. Helps Kiwanis help kids in the area. We received I don't know if you remember, it was about 2 years ago, we ordered a tandem truck, and we developed a policy by having the ability to order a truck in the next year when we knew we were going to have money available to do it. It is finally here. So it will be ready for this year's snow plowing. We're going to keep the truck it's replacing through the season just as a backup, because if you remember, there were two that were about the same age, and we figure with both of them, we should be able to make it through with that one intact. A lot of people thank veterans. I completely honor that sentiment. I enjoyed the ceremony today and the veterans that I know in my life. I would also like to add to what Trustee Kumar said, particularly the Parks Department getting those bricks done on time so that they were in the ground before Veterans Day. I appreciate that. And I believe we will do another round of sale of bricks, but it'll be coming up. And the cost of the bricks now takes up all the money. Used to be a minor fundraiser for the VFW, so that we may be adjusting prices because there is no, the cost that we've been selling them for is the cost of the bricks basically right now. And then so two other things. Next meeting, the 25th of November. I'm hoping we get done quickly. If not, I may leave the end of the meeting to Mike Guerra because I promised to pick my daughter up at the train station. And I just, that's a promise I want to honor. So I'll be here for the fun. If we get done by 8:45, I'll be here for the whole meeting. If it takes longer than that, you're going to get stuck with Mike Guerra at the end of the meeting. The last thing, actually there's two other things. One that Suzanne texted me, which I think is a good thing to add. Villa Park Office Annual Thanksgiving Food Drive. We are a drop-off location, and it benefits DuPage Pads now through November 20th. And then finally, on the budget, so we there is a $300,000 difference between the 2.8%, claiming the 2.8% and leaving the tax amount flat. I will bring that back, assuming that there's somebody else who wants us to go through that process, because there are some costs, I want to bring forward what that means in terms of what, where we would be either with a lower fund balance or some things that would need to come out of the budget to make that $311,000. Because I think you guys need to have that clarity. So I assume, is there somebody else who wants to see that, like, that before we start putting that effort forward? If any, okay, I see nods, yes.
I have a quick question. You're talking about if, to show where that 300 would come from?
Yes.
Yeah, I would love that. Just
Yeah.
line item, this is coming from.
There'll be several options, so it wouldn't be like, I'm not gonna take the most popular, one of the games you can play budgeting is just take the most popular things in the budget and say, if you take this out,
what- yeah.
I'm gonna get rid of all the things you love.
Right.
Well, we won't do that game, but there have to be, there's $300,000 less money.
Yep.
I think that's what we did last year. Took it out of the popular one, right?
Of course, that's not what we approved it last year. So,
Anything else?
yeah, no, nothing more
Okay.
from me.
With that, no executive session tonight. We have a motion for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment.
Okay, we have a second. Trustee Kumar?
I want to make a quick comment. The bricks
That was me.
comment was said by.
I'm sorry.
Carol.
Well,
Just, that's it.
I apologize.
Okay, do we have a second on
Not taking
adjournment?
credit where it's not.
Trustee Corkery? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we will be back 2 weeks, November 25th. Have a great week. Stay safe.